What's going on, guys? Chu here, bringing you another review on Dr. Stone. Now, these reviews are going to be a little bit out of order, and I'm 2 episodes behind, so for a lot of these, they're going to be coming out in the next few days, possibly a week. It's going to be playing catch-up, and it's going to be just one image. I'm just going to talk, a little bit of music, trying to avoid any possibility of any copyright strikes. Still working on stuff, but gotta continue with the reviews, guys. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So this episode, or these episodes, were actually not bad. They were pretty decent. Not a ton happened, so it's actually going to be kind of simple and kind of relaxing to just talk about these 2 episodes together. So we start with the first episode, episode 17. We see that the group is having to come to like a good way of trying to get everything across, and there are doubts. We see with like Hyoga, especially, him, they're not so sure about him, along with, of course, Zeno. They could possibly team up, and that's a concern. It's a real concern. But we see that they are first successful in creating a way to get everyone across. That's why everyone had their weights, taken, because they also don't want it to be too heavy. You need to find the right balance. We see people starting to go, and it works. It's actually a good process. It isn't until Suika at the very end accidentally gets off because there was a little bit of a turbulence and wind and knocks her over. And of course, with Kohaku, there is no waiting around. She jumps in, she doesn't wait, she goes and saves her, but she's got nothing but her blade, and at this point she's broken it. And so she tries to get up, and we see Hyoga actually is the person to save her. And it's difficult because we know that back in like season 1 or 2, with Hyoga, you couldn't trust him. You just couldn't. And now he's more trustable. And so luckily the group is able to go, and they actually are able to get across and get to their destination. Meanwhile, Stanley and the group, they try to find him. All the young science team, or the youth science team as he calls it, and he's unable to do so. However, they are in the Amazons now, and they're having fun. They're enjoying it. I love how they make it seem like it's something wonderful, but at the same time, there's a lot of dangerous creatures out there and trying to eat them. And they create rubber boots. They actually do this successfully, and they're getting to the water. But it isn't until the very end of that episode that they see this crazy mountain of shiny things, and it actually is the Medusa rings that we had seen. But it's none of them are active, and that's what they find out in episode 18, where they're looking around, they're trying to find some things, trying to find any possible active one, and it doesn't work. And they come to find out that these possibly died out many years ago, possibly hundreds of years ago. But this was the central point where it all happened, and it's an interesting material. They tried to decipher what it is and how to figure it out. And at the same time, we saw this process similar to what was going on with Joel and everyone else back in the States, in California, or wherever they're at this point. And they try to figure it out. But at the same time, they focus more on episode 18 with the group back over there, like Nikki and all of them, trying to figure out how can they, create a diamond, and apparently it's an easier process than a lot of us make it out to be. But, they are doing a lot of trial and error, trying to figure it out, and they are successful in the end. That was nice. I'm glad that they were able to figure it out. But it took them a while. But we also get to see with the group back in the Amazon, they need to figure out a way of getting some material, because of course they need to grab as many as they can. but they also don't want to run the risk of running into Stanley. So what do? Thankfully, the idea comes from Chrome, and he says, well, why not try to use the rings itself, because they weren't detectable before. They could be our shield, and that actually was a very genius idea, because at first they were trying to figure out, the way they were going to create the new boat, and trying to be as stealthy as possible, so that way they weren't going to be picked up. But adding this to the ship allows them to be able to be sneaky enough to also not be detected. So overall, though, this was fun. 2 episodes, like I said, I liked it, and it's getting them in the right direction. But now they have to get back, and Stanley is an obstacle. We'll see what happens. But that's it from me, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you guys have, make sure to like, especially subscribe, and I will catch you all, and hopefully stay safe as well, and I will catch you all later.